Hey, how you doing? This is a review of what you submitted. This is a really cool reference. I like your blocking so far. It's really cool. Doing two character stuff is, it's next level, but I'm not worried worried about it at all. What I would advise to do is try to keep both characters' poses changing on the same frames. So like if this is the first block pose for this character, try to do the same with the others so that they're in sync as best as possible, especially because they're making contact and all this cool stuff. It's cool reference, it's good reference, but I'm going to encourage you to push what's going on there a little bit. So starting with that, I'll talk about this pose. This pose is cool, but let's see. Yeah, I think you could push this. So here's some thoughts. You can take them or leave them because I'm not saying like this is a bad pose. If you want to keep this pose, I would maybe see if you could clean up the overlap between this hand and that body. Maybe like I don't want this arm to get too foreshortened, but maybe you could bring out the character's arm a little bit so that that hand stays kind of like clear. Maybe keep like, whatever negative space you can keep between the hips and the tips of those fingers, or maybe it rolls into a ball or something. But there is something that I kind of like about the reference, about this person's attitude. Like they're super kind of calm, even though they're seeing, hey, here's a dude with a sword. They're standing, like their arms are down by their side. They're super chill about their imminent murder. So that kind of shows a lot of confidence and swagger in this guy. And one of the things I don't like about the reference, and this happens a lot with this kind of like choreographed, like kind of martial arts stuff, is that it feels like he's moving knowing like kind of where the attacker's, like what the attacker's going to do. You know what I mean? So you could push that in your animation by having that first pose, whatever pose that is, hold like really long and then have it jump over into kind of like this pose like really quickly. That's more of a timing note than anything. But we can push these I'm just bringing it up to like maybe spark some thought about how we can kind of push these attitudes and kind of give a little bit more storytelling in how, it gives you a stronger, quicker change. Almost like if it only takes 4 or 6 frames for him to go from that relaxed pose into kind of this pose where he's beginning to reach and grab for the sword, then that tells you a lot about that character, or at least it's a bit more informative. Again, I'm just spitballing ideas. So I feel like this pose here, we could probably make it stronger. Like in the reference, and I'm not saying you have to like stick to whatever the reference doing, but he's far more like front on camera than how you have your character posed, and maybe you did this quickly. But it's almost like the character's already sidestepped to allow the weight of this guy to kind of continue across him. Now, I don't know if that kind of happens. Yeah, it kind of does happen, at least for a bit. But yeah, so maybe you want to rotate your character a little bit this way, so we're seeing a little bit more front ways of it. Like this isn't ideal, of course, to have the arm up in front of the face, but I think that maybe we can do better with how these arms overlap. I feel like the silhouette here could probably be made more clear, right? So maybe we rotate the character a little bit more open here, and then maybe there's like some twist happening in the upper body here, so we start to see some of the back and some of the front, something like this maybe, I don't know. And then any kind of like tip on the shoulders will bring the near screen shoulder down and the far screen shoulder up, and maybe that's how we get these arms kind of separated. I mean, this arm here that's in front of his face is anticipating the like reaching over the sword and grabbing the backside of it, right? Yeah, like you've observed here, this crazy arm cross kind of thing going on. This again is going to be kind of a difficult pose. I kind of like in the reference how there's like this lean, like you can clearly see that the weight is over this leg. So I would try to like recreate that and maybe even like push it more, you know, if you can have the whole character kind of leaning more over this way. This leg could get a little bit straighter, maybe not perfectly straight, but maybe perfectly straight. And then have it kind of be like a real lean. Of course, like there's geometry playing between two characters, so it may not be the easiest thing to achieve. But you know, like try to look, I almost like sometimes, and I don't know if you draw, but if you draw, it's kind of fun to look at your reference, kind of draw over it in a way, and then turn off the reference and then look at it just as a straight up pose, and then say like, well, if I was animating this, how could I push this pose? How could I make this pose like more appealing or stronger based on anim principles? So yeah, cool piece of reference, but I think we can push some of these poses a little bit more. Like this is great here, but I feel like he's really using his butt or his center of gravity here to like push on the assailant, to like create, like the arms are pulling this way and then the butt is pushing this way to kind of make sure that arm straightens out and to allow him to like yank the sword out of the assailant's hands, right? I feel like almost like your pelvis is kind of aiming this way, and I feel like it should almost be aiming this way in anticipation of this kind of stuff, you know? So like maybe this is the front of the pelvis. Get that butt out and maybe get that lean if you can. These are like cool little details of the mechanics and the physicality. Like if I had to imagine how this would work between two characters, I'm sure I wouldn't have thought of pushing on the guy's leg with his butt. But it's kind of cool when you get a piece of reference like this, because then you can actually see. And maybe that's not what's happening. Maybe I'm like making that up. But anyways, I like that this character in red is turned away, you know, like there's something where he's kind of like got his shoulder and his back into this guy's chest. So I kind of want to emphasize that. You have that really nice, like that's a really nice arm pose there, pushing that out. I know it's kind of hard to imagine this without the sword in the shot. So maybe you want to like have a stand-in or a pose. This is great here. I really like this pose here. Maybe, you know, especially with the arms, like they're reading kind of clear. They're in silhouette. That's all great. Maybe again, I don't know, it's up to you if you want to like rotate that away or leave it pointed at the assailant. But then I love here. That's a great rip. I just really love here. I don't think you've just gotten to this pose yet, that's all. But how this is like out in silhouette and the sword being free and clear from the assailant is like really communicated in a clear way, like right in this moment. You know what I mean? So you have this pull, and anything you can do at this pull to like get this hand out from overlapping the body, if you lower it down here, maybe is one way at least. And once the sword's in it too, hopefully the sword can be posed in a way where it's like not overlapping the knees and stuff, but just trying to like minimize the overlap and maximize your silhouette as much as possible. I like your choice of bringing this arm up higher than what it is on on the reference and all that. And here, like, he pushes this guy with that arm to like get his feet, you know, like his knee is behind the other guy's leg, so he's like pushing him so he falls over his leg, right? Like he shoves. In this grab motion, not only is he grabbing the sword, but he's like getting that foot to the inside of the assailant's leg, preparing to like shove him backwards and knock him to the ground. Really cool stuff. But this is cool. There's something about this, about the reference and stuff that I just feel like could be pushed a little bit more. Like in the reference, from this point forward, you notice he kind of just goes straight down at the guy. Which I kind of feel is like, if in your animation, it may be stronger to kind of keep that motion, to not get all the way over to the far and then go straight down, but have it be like kind of more built into the turn, you know? And I feel like this pose, maybe we can make stronger by kind of trying to get a line of action that's a little bit more like this. Because right now it kind of reads like kind of this, you know what I mean? And this, like pushing, like really push this pose, this I'm gonna stab this guy pose. I don't know how far up you want to put the arms and everything, but the more we can kind of push this line of action, this like C curve here, when you go down to the stab, which is going to be kind of like the opposite curve, that's going to give you some good contrast, you know? We really want to like try to build in contrast to our poses wherever possible. And this kind of C curve, like the more you bring this foot in, the more it's going to be like emphasized as well. So finding that pose, I think that this pose could be made stronger, keeping that kind of stuff in mind. Like this guy looks like kind of an older guy, so he might not be moving as spryly. Man, this is such a great pose in the reference though. I love that pose. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense. So what I'm saying about this end part is, as he's spinning around to like orient himself properly for the stab, in the reference he gets to his screen right pose and then goes straight down. I kind of want to see that more like over, oops, jeez, sorry. I kind of want to see him go over and down more like in a fluid kind of motion. I feel like some of these poses could be pushed to get more contrast between the anticipation of the stab and the actual stab. I feel like in the reference, his stab is like really slow because he's not actually stabbing this poor soul with the wooden sword. So when you animate that, you can kind of push the timing of that stab. You know, you can really get into this pose and the anticipation and the up stretch of it all. But yeah, sorry, these drawings are kind of sketchy and not the best, but hopefully they do the job of communicating. But this is cool. It's a cool piece of reference. I know you know, we set up the sword constraint and everything. We can, if you're having any trouble at all doing that passing off of the sword from one character to the other, I'm happy to help with that. We can do an office hours, or I can help you next week when I'm in class if there's no immediate need. But cool, great start, great reference, and I look forward to, you know, seeing what you have next time. All right, thanks.